What's going on, Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers and Lions fans? This is Derek Oakery, your host of the Detroit Koolaid Cast, and this is normally where I tell you about one of our great sponsors. But today, I want to tell you about my other podcast. It's on the Believe Podcasting Network. It's with Lions legendary safety, Benny Blades. You got to check it out. It's called BLEAV. They pronounce that Believe in Lions on the Believe Podcasting Network. Me and Benny have a ton of fun. We make each other laugh. We talk Lions. You get great football stories from Benny. And I don't know, he happens to mention, I don't know, 5+ times a show about his stories from the U. You know, he started at the University of Miami, talks all about that. So please go to your favorite podcast platform, type in BLEAV in Lions. It'll come right up for you. Please hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend. Check it out today. Believe in Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Left side carry on, picks on the block, at the 5, at the 2, at the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws, it is end zone, caught, oh baby, what a catch. Kenny Galladay, you're a freak, what a catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Cornbread! I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Welcome to the Detroit Kool-Aid, everybody. It is Griff coming at you here on a Friday. Solo show this week, so Derek got to tell you about the Colts game. I'm sure everybody wants me to chime in on that as well. Obviously, my prediction of picking the Colts would jinx them with a Lions victory. That didn't work, so I'll just touch base on that in a second. Don't want to go too deep into that. But it is Friday, so everybody knows what happens here. This is going to be the weather report. It was beautiful here in Michigan this week, and we're talking 60s again. I mean, where'd this come from? This is like September weather, and it's going to be like mid to high 60s this weekend. Means, once again, no worries about, bad weather, but you still want to watch the Lions game. They are up in Minnesota this week, and maybe college football on Saturday. But with it being such nice weather, it's like one of those things I'm going to tell you. I know I told you to put it away before, but you're going to want to dig the grill out. You're either looking at burgers, steaks, anything like that you want to cook on the grill, because this is going to be a grilling weekend here. So beautiful, sunny, dig out the grill, get some steaks, burgers, watch the game, have a great time, and as always, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. So, like I said, don't want to beat the game death too much about the Colts, and was kind of disappointed in them. Thought the defense, I don't want to say let us down, but and I know people are blaming Matt Stafford for that with the pick six, and he missed a few passes. But once again, the offense does look a little pedestrian without Kenny Galladay. He exited with the hip injury, and that really kind of set him back. But still, the defense, they got a little pressure here and there, and I thought they had a pretty decent third quarter, but still, missing the pass rush at times, guys wide open. Just real disappointing, and I guess it's just time to move on to Minnesota. So that's all I'm going to say about that game. We're just gonna go on. Got Everson Griffen coming now, so hopefully that helps. One thing I did want to mention about the game, I saw this earlier about Reggie Ragland, and he talked about how, I think his quote was, he doesn't care what the critics say. They sit behind the desk. They don't play. It's tough to win in this league. If you're taking on a 1-win team, a 2-win team, it's tough no matter what. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't like the disparaging comments. And I read that, and all I could think to myself was like, hi, Reggie Ragland. Welcome to how the other half live. I mean, what, you went to college in, Alabama? I mean, does anybody say a disparaging word about, the Crimson Tide down there besides Auburn Tiger fans? No, so I highly doubt there's ever a bad word wrote about you guys, and you guys just dominated the SEC. And then what, you come into the pros, and you're in Kansas City, and you got Patty Mahomes, you win the Super Bowl, so everything's shining bright, so it's looking all good. So then you sign with Detroit, hoping, everything gets turned around. But no, the team is struggling this year. Let's be honest, 3-4, not exactly where you wanted it to be. So you're all going to be talking about how, it's the critics, all the scribes, all the reporters, naysayers out there. You're not going to worry about what they say. Well, I'm sorry, man. That's kind of fallen on deaf ears because it just almost kind of seems like you really don't care about us fans. I mean, I know Derek rips on me. I've been here for a while. Ooh, the poor fan. But you're Reggie Ragland. Here's an idea. Why don't you be better? You want to help the team win? Why don't you be better? I saw somebody was out there, and I saw a comment like, he's a blitzing linebacker, and they don't blitz. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then Reggie Ragland signed with the wrong team. I mean, if you knew he was a blitzing linebacker, and this team didn't blitz, I mean, if you don't know that, your agent should. But obviously the price is right for you to come here. So, yeah, everybody knows this team doesn't blitz. They want to depend on their front four to get the pressure. They want their defensive backs to be able to cover for an extended period amount of time, waiting for that pocket to collapse. I mean, we've seen it the last couple years. They've blitzed very rarely. And if Reggie Ragland is a blitzing linebacker and they're misusing him, they're obviously not going to tailor their defense for Reggie Ragland. Okay, let's face it. He's not that great. I mean, so for him to come in here and be like, oh, I'm not going to worry about the critics. Okay, Reggie, why don't you just be better? I mean, I saw you, your backside a few times as you're chasing guys down on Saturday. I've seen that a few other times as well. So how about, you just not worry about the critics. You show up at the pay window on Tuesday, grab your paycheck, and I'm sure you're pretty happy with your performance. But, yeah, don't worry about the critics because, they've never played in the league, even though there's guys I hear commentators on all the time, guys that used to play, talk about, where the team is at. And the worst part about it is, I mean, with Atlanta, there was some of the pundits were starting to like, hey, Detroit still has a chance, look at this game, this Colts game. And then the defense really fell on its face again. I mean, yeah, there was a pick six, but still, they gave up some points. It's not like, it was the pick six and the Lions lost 7-0. It was, that defense was, on the field a lot. So, Reggie, why don't you pump the brakes, try to be a little more humble, with the Lions fans and the critics. Here's an idea. You know how you don't get, lambasted in the media and by fans? Win. There you go. Win. So, you came here. I don't know what you were expected. You obviously played in college. You were on a dominant team that didn't have a whole lot of naysayers down there. You probably didn't have to read a whole lot of bad headlines there. You're in Kansas City. It was a good team there. So you probably didn't have to read a whole lot there. So you come to Detroit. Realize what you're stepping into. So that soundbite, whatever you're saying, just makes you sound tone deaf to the people that are here. Okay? A lot of people complain about Matt Stafford doesn't have to fire. Matt Stafford once again said, blame this one on me. I'll take it. And, yeah, Stafford didn't have the greatest game of all. He did throw the pick six, but still. I mean, he knows what the fans are looking for here. And he has a lot of people doubting him here. A lot of people want to show him the door. But still, he knows how to be humble. He knows what to do. Why don't you take a little note from him there, Reggie Ragland, as opposed to just being your mediocre linebacker self. So, good talk, though, man. Yeah, way to show up. Another guy that a lot of people had some hopes for going into the season and ultimately cut simply because of the running back room, and that's Bo Scarborough. He was activated to the team. Lions cut him after they signed Jonathan Williams from the Redskins. I mean, a lot of people thought they did that because he played for the Colts, and he might be able to give them a little bit of an edge on what the team was looking to do, something like that. But still, I remember in the preseason, I asked around. I remember when Logan was on the call, on the podcast with us, and Derek, I posed the question, was Bo Scarborough guaranteed a spot? And I realized that was before the Lions had signed Adrian Peterson, but still, there was a spot. I think we were even having him at the fourth running back position, at the number 4 running back. But obviously the Lions feel that they have other running backs who can fill his need. Maybe he has pretty much the same skill set that Adrian Peterson has, and obviously Adrian Peterson, even though he's getting there a little long in the tooth, he's still producing some numbers, and he's obviously doing what Bo Scarborough can do. So, and he's obviously so much better than Bo Scarborough. So, Bo, I mean, you did some nice stuff for us. It's, you put up some decent stats. You kind of gave your fans here a glimmer. I don't know if you'll be on the speed dial in case one of the running backs get hurt or injured, or if Jonathan Williams, they just kept him around for the few, I don't know, a few sound bites or a few insights to what the Colts may do on offense. But Bo Scarborough, I wouldn't mind seeing you back in a jersey at some point here with the Lions, because I thought you did pretty decent, and I liked what your skill set. You were a hard runner, you ran upright, you could run over some people, and That's one of the things that I think the Lions always kind of need. Can't always scoot around everybody here in the league and make people miss. Sometimes you just need to get those hard few yards, and you're a guy that can do that. But once again, I mean, that's what we have Adrian Peterson for. So once again, it was just a very stacked running back room, and it's just a numbers game. And we all know it's the pros, but Bo Scarborough, I'll be sad to see you go, buddy. I really, really will. Now, before I really get into breaking down where we'll be with the Vikings game here, just want to talk about, Everson Griffen and Adrian Peterson. And I know Derek wants me like, Adrian Peterson, but he does it so much better than me. So, Derek, that's for you. There you go. Like I said on a prior show, and I know Derek's read on a couple of his tweets as well. The Everson Griffen tweet about, he's happy to come to Detroit. Let's get started. Let's get going. It's obviously going to be a bigger role for him. I think people was just kind of thinking maybe he would just be a third down, specialist, pass rushing specialist. But now with Trey Flowers, put on the IR, I mean, Everson Griffen, I think more stuff's going to have to fall on him now. It would have been nice to see those bookend guys. Flowers was, starting to produce, starting to, have a splash play here and there, starting to get some pressure on it, making some nice plays. But with him injured, I think this falls, once again, we're kind of back in the boat where we were. We have one defensive end, and Romeo Okwara has been doing better, but I don't know if that's the guy you really want to pin all your hopes on. So, us Lions fans here, and I know after the Griffin trade, we were all stoked for it. But a lot's going to fall on him. And I know he's going to be really stoked to go to his prior team, especially with, up in Minnesota, where he just wreaked havoc on Matt Stafford. It always seemed like he was in the backfield. If you double teamed him, somebody on the other end, Danielle Hunter, whoever was on the other end, I think Jared Allen was up there for, near the end of his career when Everson Griffen got up there. You couldn't double team one, or you have to, keep a max protection in, but still, Everson Griffen always seemed to be in the backfield, making plays, breaking up running plays. So hopefully he's got some of that left in the tank. I know that's what the Lions are, banking on, that he has that. He's got that motor. They're trying to, squeeze every last drop of football out of him, and with him, starting the first game back up in Minnesota, I'm sure his blood's going to be ramped for it, and he's going to be hyped to do it. And I know he's a pro, and he's used to the big situations with the bright lights and games like this. So I think it's going to be one of those things that I'm not going to see a lot of dumb penalties out of him. False starts. He might be doing some yapping, but he's a pro, and he's been there before. So I think he's going to be able to at least keep his emotions under control, facing his former team, where I don't think he's going to do anything stupid to cost the Lions any yards. So I'm not worried about personal fouls, anything like that. But I think he's gonna be amped up for this game. He's gonna show what he's got left and show the team that didn't believe in him. It's like, hey, I can still be here. I should still be. And maybe you're gonna be sorry I'm gone. And he's just gonna put up a big game, wreaking havoc, and a lot's gonna be needed on him. It's not like he's coming fresh off the street where he was not playing. Obviously, he was on a team and made a trade for him, so he should still be in condition, and shouldn't have to worry about that. But I'm just looking for him to really make some plays, especially on Kirk Cousins, and everybody knows how I think about Kirk Cousins. He not that great, but he's going to have to come up big since, Minnesota's got Dalvin Cook back, and we all saw what he did last week against the Green Bay Packers. So as for Adrian Peterson, he's going to be another one that I think he's just going to be amped to go back up there. I mean, he's obviously been gone a little longer than Everson Griffen has. But still, he's going to be want to show these guys that, this is what I can still do. I still got tread on the tires. I'm still, a very integral part of the game. And he can be a big integral part of this offense. Still one of those things, though, if he's got the hot hand and he's breaking off runs, making good runs, feed him. I got it. I completely understand it. I know a lot of fans are calling to see more DeAndre Swift. It seems like some games they feed him Swift the ball, some games they don't, and it's kind of hit or miss. But I think this is the game where you feed Peterson, and if this guy's producing, you just ride that hot hand. And I know it might be to the detriment of DeAndre Swift this game or Kerryon Johnson, but still, I mean, if he's out there, breaking tackles, breaking off young runs, getting those hard yards that this team needs, you leave him in there. I mean, I think he's going to be really amped for this and going back up to Minnesota. I mean, for the number of years that he played there. And he's another one of those guys. For the longest time, he wreaked havoc on Detroit when the Lions played against Adrian Peterson. I mean, he's obviously one of the all-time greats. And it was one of those guys that you always had to, like, really, circle when you played him. It's like, we really need to try to contain this guy as much as possible. And I think this could be one of those games that's what they look to do with him. Try to feed him and really get his motor going. And I believe Adrian Peterson's one of those running backs that the more carries you give him, the more froth they get going, the more they're amped up to get the ball and, break those tackles and bust off those runs. I really feel Adrian Peterson's still that running back. He can still do that. I mean, he may really feel it on Monday morning next week, but still, I mean, you got to do it then. I realize today's game is there's no more workhorse back, there's no more bell cow. You got to split everything up, and everything's almost a little specialized. And like I mentioned on a previous episode, it seems like when Adrian Peterson's in there, you're cutting out half the playbook, and so teams can just really focus on the plays that he may be doing. But still, I mean, it's one of those things. If the team knows, okay, he's in there, he's not going to catch a ball out of the backfield, or it might not be a passing down since he's not the best pass blocker. Okay, you can really focus on the run. That would be, his opportunity to show what he's got. And they mentioned it before on a previous episode that he likes running behind a fullback, but the Lions seem to be doing a lot more, obviously a lot of 3 wide out sets where they don't have the fullback in there, and he's trying to pick and choose his own hole. And some games it works, and some days it doesn't. But he's got to be the guy. You just got to really feed him, get him the ball, get him going. Let's see what he can do. Really help us control the clock and keep Dalvin Cook off the field. And I'm not worried. I mean, Kirk Cousins threw up some numbers against the Lions last year in a couple games, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at his stats." But once again, I always say it. There's a reason why Washington never gave him a big contract. His first year in Minnesota, he won that great. Last year he found a little bit, and he was something a little special, but still, I think that's more of an anomaly than what Kirk Cousins really is. I believe he's just a very average to below average quarterback, game manager, and it's somebody you can take advantage of. So I think with them having Dalvin Cook back, they're going to really need to feed Adrian Peterson, and I think it's got to be a big game for both Everson Griffen and Adrian Peterson this Sunday for the Lions to be able to go in Minnesota and maybe steal a victory. So looking at that, hoping that they they really come through big, and that Darrell Bevell realizes that. I believe he does. Corey Unling, I believe he realized that as well. He just can't use Everson Griffen as your straight third down back and leave your defensive ends as Deshaun Hand, Romeo Okwara, or whoever else they might bring up. Put Griffen out there. The guy's probably in game shape. Let him play. He knows what this team can do. And let's face it, I still believe Minnesota's offensive line ain't that great. And we all know Rick Wagner. He was here in Detroit. He ain't that great. So you can go out there. Get your stats, Everson Griffen. Adrian Peterson. Go out there, get your stats. Have a big game against your former club. So let's do this. We got Minnesota here, and up in Minnesota, it seemed like a little bit, of the shine has gone off the season a little bit with the disappointing loss to the Colts. There was a lot of high hopes. I know me and Derek, once again, were both back out drinking the Kool-Aid. Still trying to drink the Kool-Aid. Obviously, the playoffs are still within sight. The next few games they got coming up. Minnesota went up to Green Bay and put up a lot of points there. Still, their defense, held Rodgers in check for a little bit, but he still got his. And then, Detroit has, that one, then the Washington Football Club coming into town, and then down to Carolina, and then, the Texans for Thanksgiving. So, once again, these are still winnable games, and we thought we were looking, maybe they could rattle off, 7 wins in a row, and as predicted before, they're a little inconsistent, and that was one of their games where their defense kind of showed up, and everybody's like, that's the real Lions right there. That defense right there is the real Lions, and they're just kind of beating up on cupcake teams. But as we saw, Atlanta, since they made the coaching change, they've actually really improved as well. So I still think it says a little something going down to Atlanta, coming off with that W. Even though a couple ranks did go the Lions' way, they were able to take advantage of it. And coming back to Ford Field and losing to the Colts that way, it left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouth. Once again, the calling for Matt Patricia's head, Quinn's head, that got stoked up and amped up as well, where people were looking for that to happen, wanting it to happen once again. So Pat, you want those calls to go away. Just you have to go out and win, and once again get back on the horse. Up here in Minnesota this week. I know once again before the season started, I broke down the teams, and I thought Minnesota's running game, obviously with Dalvin Cook, I believe it was superior to the Lions game, Lions running back game. I've said it before, Dalvin Cook gets his yards because he's Dalvin Cook. That offensive line in Minnesota ain't that great. There's a lot of average guys up there. There isn't no great wall up there blocking for him. There's nothing like that. It's a bunch of average guys, and Dalvin Cook gets his yards because he's that great. And I think even if you try to stack the box against him, the guy's powerful enough, he can bust over a couple guys. He's fast enough to get to the outside, breakaway speed. I mean, we saw what he had, the 50-yard touchdown reception against the Packers, and he's obviously got fresh legs with being out a few weeks, being injured. So it's going to be a real difficult game for the defense, but it's going to be one of those things that I think they're going to have to make it one-sided. They're going to have to really jam that box and hope that and Jeff Okudah and Coleman, they can really do the job shutting down those wide receivers. I mean, and Thielen's there. I mean, he's decent, decent to good. BC Johnson, he kind of showed up last year against the Lions, and we're all scratching our head like, who the hell's this guy? The guy with Justin Jefferson, the rookie up there, he's damn good. So, and we all saw last week against the Colts and in other weeks, and against Atlanta, for some odd reason, the Lions have trouble guarding the tight end, and Minnesota has a couple good tight ends. So this is going to have to be another one of those weeks where Matt Patricia is going to have to come up with a game plan. And we thought, they would, Atlanta's wide receivers, in their game would just run wild all over them, and they didn't. The Lions put together a good defensive game plan and stopped them, and it seems like they put a little pressure on Matt Ryan here and there. Against Phillip Rivers and the Colts, I mentioned how the Colts were coming off a bye week, and Frank Reich's a good coach, and they were obviously prepared. They took advantage of the Lions' holes in their defense. But still, it seemed like there were points where the Lions didn't blitz. And once again, Phillip Rivers, one of those old, wily veteran quarterbacks that have seen everything. And they just didn't seem to bring any pressure on him. They just, hoping the front four would get to him. And there's a couple times they did. But more often than not, it didn't happen. And Phillip Rivers was able to pick apart the Lions' defense. Kirk Cousins, I think it's one of those guys. Everybody's like, oh, he's got a cool head. He's a game manager. I think you got to bring pressure against this guy. Even with the wide receivers this team has, the tight ends they have, Dalvin Cook, you still got to bring pressure against Kirk Cousins. I think he's shown in the past that if you get in his face, he gets rattled pretty easy. I mean, this team didn't start out 0-5 or whatever it was, out of sheer luck because we're missing Dalvin Cook. But still, obviously, Kirk Cousins isn't the guy that you can trust to go out there and win you games. Like I said, last year I believe was more of an anomaly than what he really is as a quarterback. So this is where Matt Patricia and Corey Unling got to dial up some pressures. They got to come with some stuff that maybe Kirk Cousins been around a while, but defensive genius. Come on, man. Dial up some stuff. I mean, Derek likes to tout Jared Davis. He's got the speed to blitz. Fine, bring him. Go out there. Get him on the field. Get in that backfield. The offensive line of Minnesota is not that great. Go out there and throw some blitzes in there. Get in Kirk Cousins' face. Make him throw some bad throws. Hopefully your cornerbacks can control those wide receivers. And I don't know, Jamie Collins or whoever you got out there. With Irv Smith Jr. Trying to control the tight ends. Reggie Ragland. He's a blitzing linebacker. Fine, use him. It doesn't seem like I've ever seen that guy blitz. He just seems like he's out there. As one of the middle linebackers in some of your sets. Jelani Tavai, as Derek said, it still seems like he's, he doesn't read plays well. He's slow. I saw the back of his jersey chasing a lot of people against the Colts, like a lot of other weeks. So I'm about ready to say, like, okay, scrap him and put Davis back on the field. I know that sounds bad, and everybody knows how much I love Jared Davis. But still, I mean, I think it might be time just to try to get his speed back on the field, because watching Jelani Tavai running oatmeal with his cement shoes is it's pretty pathetic to watch. And that guy's just, he has zero quicks, and it's getting really painful to watch. And that guy seems total bust right now. My comparison is a poor man's Chris Spielman. Yeah, I'm going to eat that one because yeah, I mean, I think Chris Spielman, if he found me on the street, he'd obviously punch me for saying that, because I think even he now realizes that Jelani Tavai, he ain't that great, and it's just really poor to see him. So I think the Lions on defense, they need to bring pressure, try to stuff the box to shut down Dalvin Cook, and hopefully the one-on-one can hold those wide receivers in check. Put pressure on Kirk Cousins, especially the third and longs against the Colts. The Colts did have some third and longs, and they were just bringing the front four, and those guys were not getting in there. And Phillip Rivers just picking them apart. Kirk Cousins obviously he's a game manager. He did it against the Lions a couple times last year. Don't let that happen again this year. Get in his face. Do that. Pressure him. Do that. And that's what they need to do with that defense to try to stay within shooting range of this team. As for the offense, Minnesota's defense, I ranked it pretty high going into the season. I mean, I thought that they had the best safeties out there. I thought their cornerbacks were okay. I thought their linebackers were decent. I mean, what they had out there. Their defensive line, I mean, was talking Daniel Hunter, was now hurt. They traded for Ngakoue, who they traded away. Still, this Minnesota's defense, this isn't the old purple people eaters of, Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, Alan Page, Gary Zimmerman. Those guys aren't out there. Heck, Joey Browner's not out there, and that guy was a stud when he played. I mean, Xavier Rhodes, I mean, Derek made fun of me. I like him, I think he's good. He's like, oh, he's slow, he runs this, but Xavier Rhodes played pretty good against Detroit with the Colts, so, I mean, I always thought he played pretty good when he was on Minnesota, but this defense can be scored upon. A lot of teams have scored upon them. I mean, Atlanta scored upon them, went up there and that's where they got their first win. Even though Green Bay, I don't know if Green Bay, maybe read a few of the press clippings, took them a little light, thinking they had them in Lambeau, but still, they showed up, and they scored 22 against them. It's not like Minnesota was losing games, 13-10. The offense wasn't scoring. Their defense was giving up some points, so they can be had. And so we've all seen the Lions' offense when Golladay is not in there, and he's not looking good for Sunday, and the offense can be very pedestrian. So at this point, Darrell Bevell, you need to start scheming some things. I don't know if this is calling for more of Jamal Agnew. It seemed like Marvin Jones showed up. He had a good game against the Colts. It's got to be another one of those as well. Seemed like they were trying to feed Hawkinson the ball a little more against the Colts. I believe it's got to be another one of those things. Jesse James, Isaac Nada at tight end. I mean, we all know what they can do. I don't know if Cephas finally, maybe gets back on the field as well with Golladay being hurt. I don't know. It's just, I think they're going to have to run the ball an awful lot this game. This is where the offensive line that looked very porous against the Colts defense. And the Colts have a good defense. I said that previewing the game. The Colts have one of the better defenses in the league. The offensive line had a lot of trouble. Hal Vaitai showed it starting, Derek said it before, he's terrible. I said, give him a few games. Derek, I'm in the bandwagon with you. That guy's terrible at right tackle. He got beat like a dusty rug so many times against the Colts. And I realize Minnesota doesn't have the defensive ends that the Colts did, but still, he doesn't look good in there. He looks like he's more of an interior guard. They had Joe Dahl down there. I saw hit the back of his jersey an awful lot as he was getting beat. So I don't know if it's just maybe because it was a little bit of rust from his game, first game back, but he looked utterly terrible. It seemed like the offensive line was more cohesive when they had Decker and Jackson and Ragnow and Vaitai at right guard and Crosby out at right tackle. I think that might be something they have to go back to. And there was games where they were opening holes, guys were getting big runs. So I think that might be the offensive line they have to go back to. I know they want to get Joe Dahl out there. He was impressive. He was really coming into his own, but he looked really, really bad against the Colts. And I know the Lions are one of those teams, for some reason, they do that rotational guard thing, which makes no sense to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people. But I'm calling for the offensive line to go back to, what they had when they had, Decker, Jackson, Ragnow, Hale, Vaitai, and Crosby. Crosby, he was, he wasn't that great, but he was a lot better than what Hale Vaitai looked out there. Hale Vaitai looked awful bad out there. And Joe Dahl, he looked really bad. You weren't hearing too many "good job, Joe Dahls" in that game. You weren't hearing that at all. So this is going to be one of those games where the defense can be scored upon, but I don't think the Lions, without Golladay, they're going to have to, I believe, run the ball more. They might have to do more, wheel routes to the back, to Swift out of the backfield, get him the ball some. If the Lions line is open the ball, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, feed it to Adrian Peterson. Everybody knows he's gonna want to have a big game against his former club. It's probably, besides, he mentioned having Darrell Bevell as the offensive coordinator here. Also, being able to take on Minnesota, twice a year, being able to take on, Green Bay and the Bears twice a year, being in this division for so long, it's what he wants to do. So let's feed him the ball, get some swing passes to the running backs out of the backfield. Maybe use carry on a little more as well. Try to use Hawkinson. I don't believe Minnesota's linebackers are all that great, and I think this might be one of those games where Hawkinson can have one of those big games that we're always looking for. Obviously, the defensive backfield, I believe, is going to roll the coverage more towards Marvin Jones. Hall had a good game for the Lions last week against the Colts, but let's face it, he's no Kenny Golladay. So you're going a little thin at wide receiver this week. So you're going to have to use your tight ends. You're going to have to use your running backs out of the backfield a little more. Stafford, I mean, you know what this defense can do. You know what's on there. You guys have won up in Minnesota before. I mean, it was one of those places, even when your team was struggling a little bit, you went up there and won. So, I mean, it's not that house of horrors like the old Lambeau Field used to be, or even Soldier Field. I mean, you guys can go win up there. You just, it's going to be a big game for you guys to try to put some, some of that Kool-Aid back in into the mouths of Lions fans. Because, I mean, obviously it went sour pretty quick after the showing against the Colts. And, let's face it, I mean, the Colts are a lot better than what the Minnesota Vikings are. And it's like a whole lot of people out there saying, well, Minnesota's like, their record's not good, but they're still a good team. They're still a good, 2-win team. No, Minnesota not that great. Dalvin Cook's back. Yeah, sure, he's back, but they were losing games when they had Dalvin Cook before. So the defense can be scored upon. Lions are just going to have to show that. So with that being said, I guess I'll get to my prediction time here. I don't know if it's one of those things where I want to try it again, where I pick against Detroit, hoping it jinx the team they're playing. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I'm just going to tell you straight up here. Galladay's missing. The offense looks awful pedestrian. I think, once again, the Lions, who they're playing the defense, are going to stack the box, try to stop the run. Offensive line's been way too inconsistent, so I think that's what defense are going to have to do. I believe they feel they can shut down the Lions wide receivers. Marvin Jones may be the only one that really scares the defense out of the wide receiving crew that's left. Amendola, he's been kind of really hit or miss this year. I don't think he's done nearly as well as he has past year, even last year. So, I mean, Hawkinson might have to be the guy to go to, but still, I don't think they fear the Lions wide receiver set. So they're going to stack the box, stop the run, and I think the Lions are going to have trouble stopping Dalvin Cook no matter what they do. There was points, where the run defense did show up and showed up pretty good against the Colts, but I don't know. Dalvin Cook's Dalvin Cook. He's one of the best in the league when healthy, and he's healthy. And we all saw that against Green Bay. So this game, once again, is going to be a tough one. Go up to Minnesota. I'm going to pick the Lions to lose. I think this final score, this one's going to be Minnesota 27. And the Lions, I'm going to go 20. So Minnesota 27, Lions 20. I know people are probably turning me off because oh, Mike's just a boo-hoo sayer, but that's just how I feel with this one. Minnesota's a tough place to play. As Reggie Ragland knows, if you're taking on a 1-win team or 2-win team, it's tough to win in this league. So, that's what I'm going with. Appreciate everybody listening. I know I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid this week, but still there's some winnable games after this that can really put the Lions in the playoff hunt that I'm kind of banking more on this one. I thought they were going to lose this one at the beginning of the season, so that's why I'm going to go with this one as well. So once again, everybody, I appreciate you listening. If you don't agree with me, hit me up on Twitter at GriffKidDKC, or feel free to call in on the call-in line at 989-272-3484, or leave a text, and if it's like Derek said, if it's good, we'll get you on the show. I don't even care if it's bad. I just want to hear from other people as well. It's nice talking to Derek, and I know we kind of get fed up with each other, but comments from other people that we can answer the questions, that'd be great. So if you like what you hear, give us a good review, and tell your friends about us, and we appreciate everybody. So once again, everybody, drink it in, man. Have a good weekend.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.